All right, we are live and welcome to another Kickoff Labs marketing chat. Today we're going to be talking about how to validate your startup for $20 a day. It sounds like a rather ambitious goal, but we have with us today somebody who's actually done just that and has come to teach you exactly how he's done that. Before we get into the conversation, I want to give people a couple minutes to join and also just lay out some expectations. So there are slides to this event. If you're registered and you show up at the event, you'll get slides as well. We are recording the event as well, and so a recording will also be available online shortly after the event on the same page, and we'll also get an email that goes out at some point about the recording availability as well. We do encourage these events to be interactive, meaning that if you are here live in the chat, I just want to say hi and welcome to those of you that chose to attend live. That participation is really important to us. We want these to be more of a conversation, more informal, and we'd like to make sure we're answering your questions. So while there is a path to the conversation that we'll have in this event, I fully expect that there'll be some things that you just want to drill into a little bit more, and don't hesitate to just post your question. We'll be taking some breaks throughout the conversation to look at the questions on the chat page and say, hey, we can give you a shout out, give your business a shout out, and then also answer the question you have if to the best of our abilities that we have. So all that being said, again, I want to welcome everybody to the chat. And if you don't know, my name is Josh Ledgard. I'm the co-founder here at Kickoff Labs. And we make viral campaigns incredibly easy, and you'll hear a little bit about that today throughout the conversation, although it's not the focus of our talk today. I highly encourage you to check it out and let us know what you think and how we can make the product better for you guys all the time. Our guest today comes from a company called Chaco Rush. He's a co-founder at Chaco Rush, and just to set the expectations up front as a success quote. The quote we grabbed was, we used Kickoff Labs to create a one-page contest and collected more than 2,500 leads. That's how we validated our business idea. And I love starting off with sort of a picture of like what the end sort of result looks like and what success looks like, because we're going to get into how exactly made that possible, and we're going to get into that with Chris Lacey. So welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Chris, as I said, is the co-founder at Chaco Rush. Could you give us a really brief overview of the business? Kind of describe what it is and how you guys got started.
Yeah, of course. So we actually started with an idea of having a monthly subscription service, and we wanted to test different ideas to see which one would stick. So we wanted to kind of get that individual feedback from people, and that's what we use Kickoff Labs for. The service as it exists today is a monthly subscription service. We send out a box with 4 chocolates, premium bean-to-bar chocolate. So these are chocolate bars you'd go to the store and pay $7 for, $8 for, or more.
So you're not talking about a Hershey Kiss here. You're not talking about a standard Hershey bar subscription service.
Yeah, no, it's a very premium product, and we're expanding next month. So next month we're launching, or this month I guess now that it's September 1st, we're launching a full online store as well. So we're super excited to be expanding the business, and yeah, Kickoff Labs got us started. So I'm excited to chat about that today.
Cool. And just a little bit more about the business. Is Craft Dark Chocolate, do you guys manufacture the chocolates, or do you find various kind of high quality chocolate manufacturers around and you kind of put those together as part of the subscription for your customers?
Sure. So we actually go and buy chocolate direct from chocolate makers and put those 4 bars together, package that together, and then ship those out every month.
Awesome. And because it provides interesting context, I'm curious. I mean, you started out just talking about the chocolate. Did you guys just want to pick a subscription in business and you just randomly pick chocolate? Do some of you in the company have a background in the food industry or chocolate industry, as it were?
Yeah,
I'm curious about your background.
Yeah, awesome question. So my background is actually internet marketing.
Okay.
That's what I do full time, quote unquote. We do everything from Google AdWords to Facebook ads, all of those fun things. And my co-founder was incredibly obsessed with dark bean to bar chocolate. So we did a lot of research, and competition was very low. So we decided that we were going to go ahead and give this a shot. Um, there's tons of advantages. Dark bean to bar chocolate and dark chocolate especially, there are health benefits. It's one of the healthiest snacks you could possibly ever want to eat. And the market was really thin. So that's kind of how we came on board with bean to bar, and I know we'll chat about kind of some other strategies and places to find low cost solutions for any given problem later on. But yeah, I mean that's how we got started. It was my co-founder's obsession with dark chocolate, and yeah.
All right. So we kind of talked roughly about the idea, and you can see we've got a slide that kind of shows a little bit about your timeline. And so could you kind of walk people through, because can you kind of walk people through at a high level what happened at each of the stages, and then we're going to drill into kind of each of these stages throughout.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so originally we had come up with this idea of dark chocolate, as it mentions in the timeline at the end of April of last year. And it took us a month or so to found the company, do the legal paperwork, all of that fun stuff.
It's super exciting to do that part of it.
Super exciting, and yeah, I mean, we were on a shoestring budget. We did the majority of it ourselves, and at least we got through it. So then we had this idea. We did our research. We knew that, or we felt that it was going to be a marketable idea. The competition was very low.
Can you talk about how you did the research? Like, we get this question a lot about how before you did the validation with customers, you did some of your own research. And can you talk about how you did that research?
Sure. So there are actually quite a few tools out there that help you figure out how many people are searching for something, how much would it cost to advertise for a particular product or service. Google Trends, so it's a Google product that gives you a kind of monthly snapshot of search volume in any given area for what your idea is definitely the place to start. So in our case, there were thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of searches that were going on centered around dark chocolate. There were also a good volume of searches centered around chocolate subscription services, chocolate gifts, things like that. So it's like, okay, there's obviously a market out there. Now we have to figure out the way to capture that potential audience. So that moved into the social media piece and the part that we launched with Kickoff Labs. So our idea was to launch a contest for a free 12-month subscription of chocolate and capture as many email addresses as we possibly could, so that we hit the ground running when our site launched with a sizable list that we could then go market towards.
And to kind of skip, this is the page. I think this is one of the versions of the page you had just for the contest.
Yeah, I can't quite see it yet, but yes, I'm sure that's what it was. We did a contest page. We took the advice and asked a question: do you like good chocolate? Of course, everyone's going to say yes to that. After they say yes, then they type in their email address. They get entered to win a free year of chocolate. So we went through this particular startup phase, so to speak, for, I think it was about a month. Where
it looks like you ran it for about a month and a half or so.
Yeah, a month and a half before we launched the actual website where people could sign up. So at this point, all we were doing was trying to prove whether or not there were enough people out there that were interested in this product that we're offering, which is really more of a service that we're offering, because like you said, we're buying this chocolate, packaging it, and then shipping it out to people. And we did that for a month and a half. We saw about 25 I'll call them 2,500 good signups for the contest. There were quite a few duplicates, and there are always those contest chasers out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty easy to tell, oh, there were 100 people that are all the same that entered within 1 minute.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they do that. But so we ran the contest, we collected leads, and we definitely turned that lead list into a profitable channel for us later. We still continue to email and have conversations with a lot of these people that originally came from that contest.
So for this campaign, now let's drill into the campaign specifically. So to recap, you're running this contest and you're giving away as the prize to the contest. Basically, I think it was a year subscription of the box chocolate. So you're saying, $350 of pure bean to bar chocolate delivered to your door. So I think you're giving them, a year or 6 months worth of chocolate, right?
Exactly.
For the winner. And then you have some specific advice that we're able to pull up from your site before. And so the first one that seems very true and uniform among people that are successful is the concept of tracking everything. And so what does that mean to you? Because there are so many different things you could be tracking in a contest like this. And what were you looking for when you were tracking everything? What was really important to you?
Sure. So for the contest, there were really two primary metrics that we looked at. One was how many email addresses did we collect, which we quickly figured out that we did get multiple. So you have to be careful about that, right? The second part was, what was the social sharing like? How viral did it go? And that's what the platform was great for, because it automates that process for us. So someone fills in their email address and now they can go share. We were looking at things like how many people were, talking about us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And it almost forms, it's kind of the basis of formation of a community about the product that you're thinking about launching.
Yep. And to give people some background, I threw up the slide with some numbers from your campaign where we talk about the conversion rate and the viral boost. And so for these two numbers that come straight from Kickoff Labs, this means that over 50% of the people that came to your landing page were signing up for the contest, which is a really impressive number. And we looks like this, which is 88% viral. 88% of the people listening.
Hi, everybody. This is Izzy from kickofflabs.com. Apologies that seems that our co-founder Josh is having some issues with his connection, so we'll continue with the webinar within the next minute or so, just as long as he gets a stable connection. If not, we could just go ahead and continue the conversation directly with Chris. Chris, you're still with us, correct?
I'm still here, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we do apologize.
It's
for
one thing to get the It's one thing to get people referring friends, but you still need to seed the traffic. So what did you guys do to seed traffic to the contest?
Sure. So Google Analytics, we live and die by Google Analytics. If you have a startup business, if you have any type of business ever, and you have any concern about website traffic, which you should, then Google Analytics is the one and only best free tool to figure out what type of traffic you're getting, what they're doing when they land on your website, setting up goals. You can track any touch point that it seems relevant through that buying process, or if it's a service-based business, you want to know when people fill out that contact form, what did they do before that? Where did they go? So Google Analytics is the tool to use.
Okay, so what kind of, if you can separate, I mean, Google Analytics for tracking, but can you tell me um, what tools you use for paid media versus owned media versus earned media, and what the distinction between the three and the tools you use? You can start with paid media during the campaign.
Sure. So for paid, during the Kickoff Labs campaign, the only paid channel that we used was Facebook. Facebook is incredibly inexpensive compared to other channels, Google AdWords, Bing or Yahoo advertising. And it's also a great way to target specific interests. So I can tell Facebook, okay, I want to advertise my, whatever it is, I want to advertise my contest to everyone who loves chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to target a specific demographic.
Yep.
So that was actually the only paid channel that we used during the promotion period, because spending money in other channels where it's more expensive, we didn't have a gauge of whether or not over the long term that would pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the paid avenue that we went.
So when we talk about the budget of $20 per day, was that where your $20 per day was going during the campaign? Of you were spending about $20 a day on Facebook?
Yeah. So actually, I have this little slide up here with all the numbers from the Facebook campaign. So we spent $16 per day on average for the Facebook campaign. From that spend, which was tracked through analytics goal tracking, Google Analytics goal tracking, as well as your spend comes out of Facebook directly. They tell you all of that fun stuff. I'm just trying to get to the right slide here. So we had 333,000 ad impressions. So 333,000 times our ad was shown to people. That doesn't necessarily mean 333,000 people. But the ad was shown 333,000 times. We received 224 contest entries direct from Facebook, and our cost per lead was $1.20. So everyone that signed up, we paid $1.20 for them to sign up for the contest. The actual, so I'm just going back through so it was actually 17 days that we ran the contest for on Facebook through a paid channel. We ran the campaign more and promoted it on social, obviously. Separately. But the ads only ran for 17 days, $16 a day, with that ultimate cost per lead of $1.20. And anytime you're working with a paid channel, it doesn't matter, new business, old business, been around for 40 years. What really matters at the end of the day is either what that lead number is, the cost per lead, which is what we were looking at, or how much money you're making in revenue compared to how much money you're spending. So return on ad spend, return on investment, whichever metric you want to use.
Yep. Talk to me about outside of. So we have a blog post I think people might find useful for folks called Alternatives to AdWords, and Facebook ads is certainly one of the primary alternatives. But outside of just ad spending, what did you guys do on social to drive traffic besides the ad spend, or leveraging other audience or influencers in the space to drive traffic that's not something that you're just paying directly for the promotion?
So it was truly influencer marketing without paying for influencer marketing. We gained Twitter followers, for example. We would follow and comment on other influencers in the space, be them actual chocolate makers themselves, popular bloggers. It takes time, but it doesn't take money, unless you're valuing your time at something crazy. But in a startup, you're trying to be as lean as you possibly can.
That's the sweat equity, right? I'm just gonna go out and talk to as many people as I can in as short amount of time as I can.
Yeah, we took a road trip. My co-founder did most of it, but I joined her for parts when I could. But her road trip went from, I think she flew into Michigan somewhere, went up through Canada, came down the East Coast, and kind of forging those relationships or fostering those relationships from the very beginning directly with chocolate makers. Now they're tweeting about us, they're sharing our posts. We do blog posts on our own site, so we actually have blog.chacorush.co. Every month we try to highlight and really pay respect to all of these chocolate makers out there, whether they're brand new or have been around for a while. They're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into their products, and we're picking them for a reason. We sample them all. Every month we select the box, and making those personal connections with chocolate makers or those personal connections with bloggers in the space or just chocolate foodie awesome people really helped us grow a lot.
Yeah, I gotta say this is it's really something I want to reiterate to people listening. Is we tell people, we preach influencer marketing and reaching out to influencers all the time, but it's actually rare to see people take that step, which I think is really important to build the relationship, where you weren't just sending these chocolate makers emails saying, hey, check out our product. You were building a relationship with each of them, and then actually going and saying, hey, I'm going to be in town. I mean, not you personally, but your company and your co-founder were going and say, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'm doing this road trip. Love to tour your facility and talk to you, learn more about what you guys do, sample your chocolate, and talk to you about Chaco Rush, right? Now, it's sort of the gist of it, like going up and down Michigan and the East Coast.
Yeah, and I totally am wrong, and I didn't even realize my co-founder's on the live chat. So if you're on the live chat, Chaco Rush Co. is my co-founder, and I got the Michigan part wrong. It was Ohio.
Ohio, okay. That's a really cool step, which I'm sure helped you guys not just in the short run, getting the couple thousand leads on the Kickoff Labs landing page, but as you're growing the business, having those relationships has got to have been incredibly valuable for you guys, I imagine. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Very important.
Cool. So let's change topics a little bit. So what did you guys do to optimize your campaign along the way, both in terms of the ads you're running and the landing page? Like, how did you come up with the copy, the design, etc.?
Sure. So we actually have a lot of experience with landing page optimization. Like I said, we do internet marketing as a full-time job, quote unquote. And this is a nice little side project for us. But we did tweak some of the language on the landing page, not too much, from a Kickoff Labs perspective. From the paid search side on Facebook, we actually left that pretty consistent throughout that 17-day trial. Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to make so many changes in a short period of time that you don't have the ability to have enough data to make a decision that's statistically significant. So, for the 17-day trial period on Facebook, not a whole heck of a lot. We definitely tied in directly with the correct market, and Facebook's changed quite a bit actually since we launched our campaign. So we were able to do some really fun targeting, people who like fill in the blank, for example, whereas not necessarily all of those options exist today. But you can still, if someone loves chocolate, I can still advertise to them anytime I want.
Awesome. How did you, for people that were signing up in the campaign during this contest phase, how did you interact with them? Did they get an automatic reply email? Did you send out mails once a week to them? Like, how were you interacting with the people who signed up and were saying they were interested?
Sure. So we use the MailChimp integration. Super huge fans of MailChimp. If you're using any other email platform, you're probably doing it wrong. At least personally, that's my advice. But and then you can create drip campaigns through MailChimp. So someone signs up, 2 days later they get an email, 5 days later they get an email. We actually took a proactive approach to emails, so we were really manually sending them out constantly, trying to figure out what worked, how many people were dropping off of our email list. We also kept track of how many...
Describe constantly, because people always have this question, how often should I email my list and what's effective?
It definitely depends a bit on what product or service that you're trying to offer. Definitely once a week, for sure, as a baseline. If it's a product or service that people can easily understand, I would say once a week is really good. especially when you're working with a list like we were from. Trying to watch chat at the same time too. Sorry. So especially when you were working with a list like we were, which were a bunch of people signing up for a contest. So the last thing we wanted to do was pay MailChimp a lot more money for all of these people who literally just signed up for a free year's worth of chocolate. So we would rather bombard the people with emails and then let them drop off if they're not interested. So we would track things like open rates, how many people opened an email. Okay, well, if no one's opening our emails after 10 emails, then they're probably not a valuable member of our listing.
Yep. No, it makes total sense. And then what was, during the contest, what was the content, like what sort of content were you sending people during the contest? I get that question too, like how often, like what sort of content should I be sending people, and not just how often, like you kind of answered that, but then what should I tell them about this product they can't buy yet?
Yeah, so we kept people engaged. It was I'd say half of it was share, share, share. So education about bean to bar chocolate. I'm trying to think about other emails that we sent out during that campaign. Obviously, updates about when we were launching, so that everyone felt a part of it. We did solicit feedback. I know there was at least one email that was like, "Hey, let us know what you like," to try to get them more engaged. Build that community for Chaco Rush, and really it was really the beginning of the brand.
Yep. Yeah, and so it sounds like like what I heard in your answer is that you were both you were reminding during the contest, you were reminding people that, hey, there is a contest, keep sharing because you want to win the contest. You were engaging people, you were asking them questions, what kind of things do you like? You were making them feel like they were part of this event, and then you were letting them know specifically more about the product and the launch. So it was sort of a combination of those three things, and maybe you alternated, maybe you put two of the three in one email. And you were kind of rotating around those three sort of general concepts to get across to people the whole time.
Exactly.
Okay. We got a question from True online, and I see your co-founder answered it. What is too long for a time for pre-launch on Kickoff Labs in too short amount of time? I'm launching an exclusive list of bridal sample sales in major U.S. cities. Is 6 weeks too long or too short for something with no physical product? So I'm curious to hear your answer, and then I will offer my perspective as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think 6 weeks is perfect. I, of course, agree with my co-founder because she's amazing. I have to say that because she's on
Good choice.
No, actually, I think for our product, 6 weeks was perfect because what you don't want to do is you don't want to lose the engagement during that period, right? So if I sign up for something, I don't know, I've done some Kickstarter projects. It's like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I get really hyped about it, and then it takes 6 months for me to even hear from them. So I say, well, okay, like I've totally lost interest by that point.
Yep.
I really think 6 weeks would be an ideal number. You don't have to hit them so hard during that time. They're still excited for your launch. But Josh, I'll let you answer the question because you deal with this constantly.
Yeah. No, I think in this case, with the question that's asked, I think 6 to 8 weeks is probably a good amount of time, as long as you said you're engaging them at least once per week along the way. Because even 6 weeks, if the biggest mistake people make, regardless of the time, is just not doing that engagement throughout. And so it could be 4 weeks, and they sign a bunch of people up on week 1. By week 4, they email and they say, hey, now you can go buy. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what I signed up for 3 weeks ago. Like, I don't remember what I signed up for if you're not doing the engagement. So no matter what length of time, it's important that you're keeping up that engagement throughout it. When people ask this question, I think the other factor is simply has to do with your own personal goals of, do you want to collect 10,000 emails? Do you want to collect 5,000, or do you want to collect 2,000? And how effective are you at driving traffic? And what a lot of people don't realize, especially people that don't have experience like you guys did in driving traffic, is that doing that seeding of traffic takes a little bit longer than you expect, because there's no such thing as I throw up a contest page and all of a sudden everybody shows up. The if you build it, they will come mentality doesn't work. And so I think the thing that some people underestimate is to get to that steady state of, call it 100 leads coming in per day or 500 leads coming in per day, or whatever your goal is, it can take sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to lead up to that. And then you have the question of how long if you estimate you're going to get 100 or 150 leads per day, how many leads total do you want, and how long do you want to go to keep it running? So I think people have to ask themselves those questions and do some math and say, oh, I want 5,000 leads. It's going to take me 10 weeks, and 10 weeks is okay if it's taking you a couple weeks to ramp up traffic. Then you're really just talking about 8 weeks for the bulk of the people that sign up, and then you're talking, and then you're reaching out to them and getting them engaged along the way. If you know what you're doing to just get traffic in the first couple of days, then 6 weeks is a great number for a launch like that. So, like I said, I hate to give the answer, it depends, but it really does kind of depend on what you're trying to do. It's just important to remember the lesson that you said, which is you don't want people to forget about you and lose interest, and so you have to keep the emails engaging and have a campaign in mind that keeps people engaged as they're going.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the other thing, real quick, is just from the time that from the time that the business was founded, 2 days later, we had all of our social media channels set up. We had usernames that were consistent. We had messaging already in mind. We obviously struggled and worked like crazy people. Mm-hmm. But it really depends how long that process takes as well. Mm-hmm. So why would you want to launch a contest around a brand that people couldn't go Google and at least find a Facebook page, or things like that? So I think it's really up to each startup founder or founders in this case to kind of set the timeline as they need it.
Yeah, and that's an important point. You mentioned that people Google the things and the social media channels, like getting them up and running. So that was one way that you guys were able to hit the ground running, and 4 to 6 weeks makes sense if you're hitting the ground running, and it's a good idea to do that. And the other advantage is that when it comes to conversion rate, people tend to trust. There's the fact that you had some social channels with content filled out, with starting to build an audience. Those are all trust factors when people come and examine something and determine whether or not this is a reputable company. I know when I go to, I see something and then I go to their Twitter account, and the Twitter account is empty or non-existent, or I go looking for a Facebook page and there's nothing there, it's non-existent, you sort of wonder, is this company really just are they gonna take my money and run, or are they people that are there behind the company? And so I think for a lot of people it becomes a trust factor, especially when you start opening the store and letting people buy directly from the site.
Oh yeah, I mean, trust was hugely important for us. We had people buying 3-month, 6-month subscriptions from a brand new company, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen if 1 month in we were like, oh, we're just going to take your money and run, and we're not shipping anything anymore? And it truly was a combination of social as well as customer interaction. I mean, I would get emails in the beginning, hey, are you going to be around in 6 months? I want to buy a 6-month subscription.
Yep.
So, it's a whole customer service piece of it, too. If someone sends us an email, they're getting a response within 24 hours. Usually they're getting a response within an hour or two.
Yep.
And I think that's really helped to establish our credibility, and the reviews that we have online are great. Hopefully, all of the ones I've seen are good. But, that's really how you build a brand.
Yep. And so, if you don't mind talking about it, so we get this question often too, and it really varies per business and what people are charging and what people are selling. But of the 2,500 leads, did you track kind of what percentage of them ended up converting ultimately and buying some sort of subscription to your service?
Mm-hmm. So we had about a 7% conversion rate from. In general, a 7% conversion rate from signups once those emails were stripped that were duplicates, because again, with the contest you get contest hunters. But we saw about 7% within 30 days. Yep. And I don't have a good number for you long term. I'm sure it's more than that. I mean, we constantly still reach out to these people. But it was for sure 100%, no doubt. We gave away $350 worth of chocolate. And we made that the first month.
That's amazing. So congratulations to that. And the 7% rate is right in the ballpark. I hear people say I hear between 5 and 10% pretty frequently for the answer to this question. If you're doing it right and you're getting people engaged, you should be somewhere between 5 to 10% conversion rate. Or that's if you're trying to backfill the math of how many leads I need to generate and how much money I want to, how much revenue I want to get for a reasonable priced product, you're talking between 5 to 10%. And I just mentioned that because it's a question we get all the time. How many people are ultimately going to buy? Like, well, it depends on what you're selling and how well you are at selling it after you collect the list. But if you do a good job, 7% seems like an average number in there for people that know what they're doing. So would you say that, I suppose you'd say that the contest and Kickoff Labs worked well for your campaign?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a strong believer in not reinventing the wheel. There's no reason to pay a developer all kinds of money to go out and custom do everything and anything that you want. Kickoff Labs was a perfect platform for us. The simplicity of the platform, the features of the platform were exactly what we needed. And not that I'm here to pitch your product, I'm just here to chat with people. But I think it was perfect. I would recommend it to anyone, especially if you're in a situation like ours where you're feeling confident, but you don't really know. Should I take the plunge? Should I spend a lot of money? Should I bring product in? Anything like that. It was the perfect solution for us. It was very hands off. The time required was minimal, and strongly recommend it.
Cool. Thanks to hear. And so I threw up on the screen share that I have your current page that you're here. So if you want to do your best pitch for what you guys are giving away now and what people can get, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, of course. I could talk about this all day. How long do we have? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So Chaco Rush truly is a bean-to-bar subscription service that we ship dark chocolate each and every month to your door. The value of the chocolate that we ship is more than the cost of your membership. So you're not only getting free shipping, you're also getting a curated selection of chocolate that myself and my co-founder mostly because she's a super taster, if you know what that means, that she tastes. Mm-hmm. So you're getting varieties from all over the world. You're getting 4 different makers. So it's some subscription services, there aren't many. One of them does 4 different bars from the same maker every month, for example. You're getting 4 different makers. You're getting 4 different origins. So where the cacao is coming from, it's 4 different places. Mm-hmm. You're getting customized tasting notes. So, here's what we taste. Let us know. And then we also have a community. So we have a dialogue back and forth with a lot of, it's not a true online community, but we have a dialogue back and forth with our subscribers. There are some that will send me, pages of notes practically. And we have relationships with all these makers as well. So if you know someone who's interested in bean-to-bar dark chocolate, there's no better subscription service than ours. And the only other thing I'd like to throw in there, so we are launching an on-demand store this month. I mentioned that before. People will be able to buy all of these hard-to-find, not all of these, but lots of these hard-to-find makers. If you're in New York City, great. You probably have access to some pretty good chocolate. But there's lots of places, even like here in Charleston, that you can't really go out and find many of these brands. So we're going to be doing the online store part. So it'll be an on-demand fulfillment type of setup. So if you know anyone that's interested in dark bean-to-bar chocolate, please send them our way. And then our online store, we're actually also introducing some milk chocolate, some dark milk chocolate, and some inclusion bars too.
Cool. So I love you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask what's next, and so you talked about the you guys are launching the direct buy, more of the direct buy store, which is great because like I get these 4 chocolate bars, and I really like one of them, and I want more of that one chocolate bar. I'd probably like to go order, a 12-pack or something of that one chocolate bar. So it's a great extension of the brand, and probably I imagine you're doing that in response to customer demand, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have people, oh, I loved this bar. Because, like I said, we get lots and lots and lots of feedback. These are not shy people. They'll say, oh, I did not like this, or I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we take those all into consideration, all of that feedback, which is awesome. I'm just watching chat again. And the thing that I definitely should have brought up during our conversation right there that I didn't was, the direct trade, ethical trade business that our makers are engaged in. So, you can go look at the ethics of Hershey's or any type of mass-produced cheap chocolate, and it's not benefiting people in countries like the Dominican Republic that are actually harvesting the cacao, or Belize. You can go through the laundry list, but it truly is a sense of pride for us that we are able to feature bars and makers that ethically source and really ethically pay the people who are putting all the work into it.
Outstanding. So what final piece of advice might you have for somebody who's thinking about starting, maybe not a chocolate business, but somebody who's thinking about starting a similar kind of online business or subscription service? What kind of things, if you had it to do over, would you change, or what would you tell somebody who's going to go down this path today?
Sure. So the number one piece of advice is, before you start doing anything, make sure that you can track everything that you decide to do. If you aren't tracking it and you don't have numbers, it's very difficult to gauge success, if not impossible. So that's truly the first piece of advice I would give. The second piece of advice is, like you had mentioned before and we talked about, make sure engaging people that are involved in communities, whether it's bloggers or whatever those social channels are. Go out and engage those people and start to build your reputation right from day one. Thirdly, don't hesitate to, if you do a contest like ours, don't hesitate to blast these people with emails all the time. Yeah. We honestly probably spent twice as much as we should have for MailChimp because we didn't blast them enough. You pay based on how many subscribers are on your list. Yes. And it took us probably too long to cut those down.
And that's something that people are often shy about too, is that concept of reaching out to people. And I know your co-founder posted, if you've ever subscribed to Gap.com, they email once a day, as example. And so kind of following the lead. I mean, it's a retail business. They're obviously tracking all of their results. They would not email once per day if that was a bad investment of their time. Like, they would absolutely not do it if it drove people away and created and was a negative ROI for them. And so people are shy, and they think, well, I don't want to bug people. But the reality is, if somebody wants to get off your email list, they probably were not the best customer for you anyway. And if you're sending engaging content and making good offers and deals to people, they're going to stay on the list. And they might ignore 5 or 6 emails, but that 6th one's going to get them to buy. And I think people often neglect that fact because they think, oh, I don't want to be too pushy because I hate getting some of these emails myself. From services I weren't really interested in. But then that's the thing, you weren't really interested in that service, but your real fans are, and they're the ones that'll build a network for you.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, the thing about it is, it doesn't matter how many people are on your email list. All that matters are the people on your email list that will actually end up buying your product.
Absolutely.
I brought it up a ton of times, but people also, from a website perspective, I want it to look pretty. And pretty doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, yes, everyone wants their websites to be presentable. But a website that converts, which is why Kickoff Labs exists, is so much more important than, oh, I want this 5 pixels that way, or, I want to be able to put a background image here, something, something like that.
This is absolutely... Go ahead.
I always bring hold on one sec. I always bring people back to Amazon.com. It is one of the ugliest websites, right? No one goes to Amazon.com and goes, "Oh, this is a beautiful looking website," because it's not, but it works.
No, absolutely, and that's always been our goal, is to make it super quick to put up high converting landing pages. And we get questions all the time like, "Oh, but I want a video moving background," and ask why. And they say, "Well, I saw this other company do it." I said, "Do you think it converts? Because I can actually tell you when you test it against a page without a video background, the one without is going to convert better." Like, we offer a big
question all the time too.
Yeah, it's like I could tell you the answer. Now you don't even need to test it. We offer both, and I've seen the test run enough times that 90% of the time, less distractions on the page are going to convert better. And the video moving in the background is often a huge. Sorry, that's my pet peeve, is whenever somebody emails and says, "I want the background to be moving and I want this other animation on the page," and I say, "Why? Do you want conversions or do you want the page to be glitzy?" Exactly. Yeah. So that's great to hear somebody else that shares that mentality. And I hadn't thought about the Amazon example. That's a great example. The homepage on Amazon is incredibly ugly, but I'm sure. I mean, I know people that work there personally, and I know that they're just absolutely, like you said, they measure absolutely every little bit of that, and none of it is by accident when you go to Amazon. Like,
oh yeah, they run hundreds of tests, if not thousands of tests, each and every minute of every day.
They have entire teams of people whose job it is to come up with different tests for the product pages, for the home page, for category pages, and there's just teams of people coming up with a new test to run. And so when you go to that page, you can leverage, a lot of the things you learn from looking at bigger retailers, and because you can have faith that they are probably testing this, because they are.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, it's been great having you today. If you have any comments or questions, we'll be hanging around the online chat for a few more minutes, and you can post in the chat if you're there. Otherwise, if you're watching the recording of this, you can always email your questions to support@kickofflabs.com. And how would you want people, if they want to get engaged with Chaco Rush? The website is chacorush.co. But how would you recommend if somebody wanted to shoot you guys a question back to you guys or talk to you personally?
Yeah, sure. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. It really doesn't matter. You'll find us everywhere. The website is chacorush.co. There's no M on the end of that. A lot of people have some confusion. And then you can also email us anytime, info@chacorush.co.
Great. Thanks for that's great to know. Thanks for your time today, and this was a lot of fun. And look forward to hearing any feedback that people have about the chat and how we can improve going forward. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Josh.